بابا زود باشین دیرمون شده. دیر یعنی چی لالال؟ ما ایرونی هستیم دیگه. This exchange encapsulates one of the many colorful conversations between my parents and me. A common occurrence any time we needed to leave the house. Picture me, dressed and ready by the door, frantically pacing, pleading for them to hurry. Meanwhile, my parents moved leisurely, seemingly unconcerned that we were invited to dinner an hour away at 7, and the screen on my phone was already showing 6:45. My pleading was constantly met with these casual smirks and retorts about running on Persian time. To add insult to injury, my father could be dressed and ready by the door and would still refuse to leave the house until he finished his cup of tea. To further exemplify this lack of concern for punctuality, you could see it in our home with the consistently inaccurate times on our stove, microwave, and even the analog clock in the living room. None were broken, because even a broken clock is correct twice a day. They were just never accurate. It seemed as though my parents had no internally programmed sense of urgency, unlike myself. A sense of urgency I never questioned, but rather took pride in. You see, this discrepancy in our attitudes wasn't merely a product of our personal temperaments. It had so much to do with the environments we grew up in. I was raised in the efficiency-based society of capitalist America, where industry moguls share their secret to success through motivational videos about the hustle, the grind. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that iconic video of Shia LaBeouf evocatively encouraging viewers to stop procrastinating and just do it, further perpetuating this hustle culture mindset. In contrast, my parents' upbringing in Iran painted a starkly different picture. Life wasn't this constant rush from one obligation to the next. Instead, it unfolded with a gentle rhythm, leaving time for moments of pause and reflection amidst the day's activities. Shops closed in the afternoon, signaling for a collective pause for lunch, a brief nap, and at least one cup of the quintessential black tea before returning to work later in the day. Despite being surrounded by my parents' mindsets, I had this deep, seated desire to embody everything that Persian time was not. I became efficient, scheduling my day down to the minute, utilizing every moment I possibly had to be productive. I said yes to every single opportunity that came my way as I was convoluting endless bullet points on my to-do list with mile markers on my path towards success. And I was being met with this strange confirmation bias that occurs when you use the wrong formula but get the right answer. I was receiving accolade after accolade, so why would I slow down? It wasn't until I was attempting to be everywhere, trying to do everything all at once, that the truth behind Persian time crystallized before me. I realized that in my attempt to do it all, I actually was not present anywhere. Life wasn't this sci-fi film where I could switch places with different versions of myself across the multiverse, but it took a humbling reality check of my humanity for me to be able to recognize it. One freezing evening, as I was rushing home from an on-campus event to log on to a Zoom, I found myself unexpectedly passed out on the sidewalk. This moment served as a stark pause in my hustle lifestyle. A lifestyle that had led me to lose 20 pounds in just 3 weeks due to endless missed meals and all-nighters, resulting in me blacked out just steps from my building. Along the way, I had missed out on important milestones like birthdays and anniversaries in the lives of my family and friends, as I had unwittingly isolated myself on a bullet train towards a goal I couldn't even clearly articulate. And that brings me to my realization. Success is not measured by the speed in which we reach individual goals, but by the depth of collective experiences and purpose found in the journey. Not only is it not how many things we do or how fast we do them, but it is also not just simply what we do either. It is what we choose to do with what we have done for others. This notion resonates deeply with the idea of Persian time, a concept deeply rooted in community built without haste. Now, let me pause here and clarify what exactly Persian time means. It's more than a cultural stereotype about lateness. It's a mindset, a way of approaching time that prioritizes intentionality over the relentless pursuit of productivity. This deliberate deceleration forces us to shift the focus from individual achievements to the process of collaboration, reciprocal support, and collective advancement, all with a cup of hot tea in hand. In a way, being surrounded by inaccurate clocks your whole life forces you to be an active participant in the present moment. So let's catch up to hindsight and get back to me alone on the frozen sidewalk, my only companion being the cold, hard truth I was being confronted with. I was doing all of the things that hustle culture asked of me, yet I did not feel like this shining example of success. In this relentless quest for achievement, I was sacrificing my mental and physical well-being at the altar of productivity. I was seeking comfort in this way of life. But hustle culture is not a warm blanket. If anything, it's this ferocious flame that set the water to a boil. Now, stick with me while I dust off the cobwebs of my general chemistry knowledge to draw a comparison. When a flame is lit under a pot of water, the temperature of the water increases. And as the temperature of the water increases, the individual energy of the molecules of water in the pot also increases. And as a result, the individual molecules begin to speed up and collide with one another more frequently. As the temperature continues to increase, the individual molecule's energy reaches a point where they're able to break the bonds between them and the other molecules of water in the pot, leaving the liquid phase and moving to the gas phase. And as more and more of these molecules move to the gas phase, the volume of gas in the pot actually increases, and this bubble rises to the top, allowing these individual molecules to disperse out into the atmosphere. And that is how we reach the point of boiling. Okay, so now that we've had this lesson in chemistry briefly, let's apply this to our society. Hustle culture lights a fire under us, telling us we must work 25 hours a day, 8 days a week. If we aren't working hard constantly, we don't deserve success. We might as well drink our breakfast on the way to work so we don't waste time chewing, because time is money. And as this idea gets perpetuated, individuals feel obligated to add more to their plate, to move faster, and they start to collide with one another more frequently. And as they collide with one another, they begin to recognize that it might just be easier to break those bonds in order to rise to the top. And as more people enter this rat race, they shift the status quo. And very similar to rats running tirelessly on a wheel with no prescribed destination, this is how we reach the point of burnout. This glorification of busyness is so deeply ingrained in our society that we continuously perpetuate these cycles of exhaustion and depletion. We wear our fatigue as a badge of honor, equating our worth with our ability to endure endless turmoil. We see those around us as competition. We continue to add fuel to the flame, and we don't stop until we get burned. It shouldn't have taken me literally blacking out to recognize that I needed to slow down. But the reality persists that you cannot see your own reflection in a boiling pot. Without the opportunity to reflect, not only do we miss out on recognizing the harm we're causing ourselves. But what's more, we also lose out on the opportunity to really critically consider what we got out of the time we spent. As a student here at Michigan State University, I've seen firsthand how this toxically productive mindset permeates our campus culture. We are a university made up of 50,000 undergraduate students, with over 200 majors to choose from, and nearly 1,000 registered student organizations beckoning for our participation. I'm sure many of you can relate to this feeling of sitting down to either write or edit your resume, having a list of achievements and accomplishments in front of you, but still feeling paralyzed by the idea of explaining what you actually did. But this fear, it doesn't come from a lack of experience. Instead, it comes from a lack of opportunity to reflect on these experiences and how they relate to broader contexts. We must rewrite the notion that slowness is the opposite of speed in order to recognize that slowness is actually the opposite of haste, and haste is unsustainable. Take weightlifting, for example, an arena where growth can be seen quite literally. There's this common misconception that in order to grow bigger muscles, all you have to do is lift heavier weights. However, weightlifting actually causes these small tears in our muscle fibers that require rest to repair and then grow stronger. So the real growth doesn't occur during the lifting itself, but during the moments of rest afterwards. This is why intentional pause, reflection, and rest are so critical. If we're constantly tearing ourselves apart, when it matters, we have nothing to show for it. In reflecting, we allow our knowledge the opportunity to grow beyond our individual limitations. Famous author Dan Zadro once said, "All human progress is the story of someone who believed passionately in something and someone who believed passionately in that person." This speaks volumes to the importance of collaboration, the spreading of ideas, and the sharing of our knowledge. It beckons the age-old question: if a tree falls in the forest with no one around to hear it, does it really make a sound? What happens to all of our ideas and experiences that never get shared or written down? So, what if we rewrite this societally determined narrative? What if we decide to utilize this lesson of Persian time as a catalyst for growth and fulfillment? What if we allow ourselves to believe that the journey is just as important, if not more so, than the destination? Every culture has its own version of Persian time, its own values and rhythms that shape the way people move through life. However, in this fast-paced society, we're often robbed of the opportunity to savor the journey. We're stripped of our individual humanity and our collective growth, and we're taught to not believe that slowing down to succeed sustainably is a group mindset. We're taught that it's a minority mindset, when we must recognize that it's actually a minoritized one. Earlier, I mentioned the fundamental core of a Persian midday break: a piping hot cup of black tea with a symphony of cardamom and rose infused. When I was younger, I don't think I recognized the implications of this ritual in our understanding of time. But hot tea is something that is very difficult to drink quickly. It forces you to slow down and steep to obtain the richness and depth of the flavor. So, as we continue this journey together, let's apply these lessons of Persian time and the wisdom of our own ancestors to our lives, to be able to promote a way of life that embraces the journey and embraces our collective humanity all with it. enjoying a slow sip of hot tea along the way.